Hi Year 12s, welcome back to Term 3 and to the run-up to your final piece of assessment, the external exam in General English. Today I'm going to provide you with a little bit of an introduction as far as the resources that we have created in preparation for your external exam, the ways that you can access them, and the process that you need to go through to best prepare yourself for the external exam, which is scheduled for General English on the 25th of October, and by which time you need to have a really comfortable understanding of the play Macbeth as part of your Unit 4 close study of texts. So, as we always do, we start with what the syllabus documents tell us that we are supposed to focus on in Unit 4. So let's have a look at this. Okay, so here we are on the course page of General English, and this is the Unit 4 description, which comes directly from the syllabus. And you'll notice there that it says in Unit 4, which is called Close Study of Literary Texts, students engage in the world and human experiences by engaging with literary texts from diverse times and places. And they explore how these texts build a shared understanding of the human experience, and through this become part of our cultural heritage. So essentially, we've done that in two different ways. We had a creative response to a literary text in our first task, our IA3, our narrative response. And in our second topic in Unit 4, which is the critical response to a literary text, we are examining how that construction of the human experience is actually shaped by the deliberate choices of the author at the time that they wrote. So in our case, in preparation for the external exam, we've chosen to focus on the play Macbeth. So regardless of what school you were at and regardless of what text you ultimately had to study, you're being asked to do the same thing, which is engage in a close reading of that text, specifically looking at how the author has purposefully manipulated the stylistic devices and the aesthetic features, so the stuff in the text and the way the text is written, to convey some version of a message to an audience. So if we are looking at how an author creates a representation of what it means to be human, we're looking at what elements we share in common with the characters in the text that we're reading. Okay, so we've already looked at the ways that we can engage in the innovative and imaginative use of language when we wrote our narrative. And now we're going to look quite critically, so quite deliberately and with the view to offer an evaluation at how somebody else creates their innovative and imaginative representation of what it means to be human. Okay, so come out of there. So my goal today is to highlight some of the resources that we have developed for you and will continue to develop for you to support your preparation. Ultimately, by October, it's important that you are able to write flexibly and talk quite confidently about the way Shakespeare manipulates the devices of a play, the elements of storytelling to convey a message. All right, so I'm not going to focus too much on the writing of an analytical essay in this introduction because that's actually so far down the process that it's not really something that we should be worrying about right now. We're actually engaging in these first few weeks in building our contextual understanding of Jacobean England, building our understanding of the way Shakespeare writes, an understanding of how play is put together, so that by the time we have to actually write, which for the first time in exam conditions is in your exam block at the end of term 3, we feel we have enough knowledge of the text to be able to do that quite confidently. All right, so in class already this term, you will have been provided with some resources. So by now, everybody probably has a copy of a version of Macbeth that came from the book room. This is really worth having for a number of reasons. It is designed specifically for student use. So a lot of the terms or the vocab that might be unfamiliar because we no longer use that word is actually explained, as well as a little bit of brief commentary and brief summary of what the key point of each scene is. And that helps you to stay on track and to examine the way trends are forming and when a character's development is most significant. You've also all been given a photocopied version of Macbeth, and our goal with this is to teach you how to annotate a play for your own use. So no two students' annotations will look exactly the same, but I would strongly recommend, particularly in your study line during the day or borders in your study time at night, that you share the way that different teachers have focused your annotations and build as confident an understanding of the play as you possibly can by simply talking about what you've already shared in class. In addition to the play, which you probably are in the process of reading in class now, you have also been given a copy of the Lit Chart study guide. Everyone has a paper copy of this, but it is also on our class pages and course page if you happen to lose yours. Now, a study guide is never an alternative to reading the text, but it is a great way to focus on the most studied elements, the things that students most commonly need to know when they're asked about a text. The challenge that you face in the QCAA General English syllabus is that your external exam is in response to two unseen questions, a choice of two unseen questions. And what this means is that you don't yet know what particular element of the play you're going to be asked to discuss. And so every element of the play is important, and everything you can learn about the play, its context and its construction is worth knowing. Okay, so the study guide's there to help you identify what someone else saw as important or what most people generally need when they read Macbeth, but it's not the only stuff to know. So it's just to keep you on track and to help you understand until you're more confident discussing the language and recognizing what things mean in Shakespeare's English. Okay, so in addition to the reading of the play, we've also added a range of resources to class pages, as well as creating a Padlet, which specifically counts you down to the external assessment. So I'm going to share those with you now. All right, so here we are on my class page. Now, your class pages will look slightly different. That's not a problem. They all connect to the course page, which means they will all have access to the same resources. But your class teachers will also share resources for you specifically for your class, and that's where talking to people in other classes is most helpful. So here on my class page, I have embedded this excellent definition of Shakespearean tragedy, but which I've also put on the course page and which I'll explain in a subsequent tutorial. I've embedded some crash course literature tutorials from YouTube, which just help to explain some of the key elements, things that are not really part of our experience every day in 2021. A film adaptation of the text. So my feeling is that by the end of week 3, everybody should have watched at least one adaptation of the play. That actually helps with your comprehension. It's making it easier for you to know what happens when, because you've pictured it in your mind. But of course, as is always the case, this is also a representation. So we have to recognize that there are some creative choices made by directors and made by actors to position you in a certain way. And that's not necessarily what appeared on the page. And we, as English students, have to connect with the way we make meaning through the words and the construction of the text. Some more crash course resources. And down in my social stream, I'm actually adding just a little bit of background reading for my class every day. Okay, so at this point of your English study, it won't be enough that you just read the play, and it certainly won't be enough that you just read the play once. So in addition to reading the play, you need to read around the play. And what that means is you need to connect with other people's understanding of what was most important about that thing. So, you know, the couple that I've shared so far is an understanding of the relationship between King James I and Shakespeare and why that might be relevant to the writing of Macbeth. And my second one there is looking specifically at gender roles, because depending on how far you are through the play already, you'd be aware that the ways the characters use what it means to be male, what it means to be masculine, and what it means to be feminine are used both positively and negatively. And it's important to understand where that kind of manipulation comes from. All right, so if I scroll back up to the top of my class page, you would have seen those unit tiles at the front. So the Unit 4 tile will take me to the course page. You've probably already been here, particularly in your preparation for the Cellist to Sarajevo. And our second topic here, which is exploring as a reader, because we are analysing someone else's work here, will take me specifically to a unit page, which will be populated with resources specifically for the study of Macbeth. Okay, so it's already got some links. It's got that great definition of tragedy again, and a whole lot of files. And by the end of this term, there should not be a file untouched on this page. You should have visited everything and tried to get your head around the messages that are being shared by all these different resources and all these different perspectives, so that you feel that you really know these characters and you can really talk about any aspect of this play if they asked you a really curly question. Okay, so now in addition to what's on our class page, I have sent you a link to this Padlet. So this is our road to external assessment. And what it basically sets out is a timeline from now until October with all of the steps that you'll have to take to ensure that you are as ready as you can be for your exam. Other than the syllabus, which we've just unpacked together, the very, very first document is actually called the Countdown to Assessment. And it provides you with a week-by-week timeline of what it is that you should be, where you should be up to. Now, if you are going to miss some school for a sporting commitment or for visits to universities or because you're unwell, this will help to keep you on track. You can actually ensure that you have checked in with your teacher ahead of time and said, hey, listen, if we're going to cover motifs next week, what should I be reading to make sure that I don't fall behind? You can see that you're on track. If you've had to prioritise getting another assignment done, you can actually look at what it is that you'll have to catch up to ensure that you're ready before the external exam. And it goes all the way through till October the 25th, which is when your external is, and looks at how we're going to use the public mock papers. So those are the papers that students can already access now on the QCAA website so that you're familiar with the way the questions are worded. We're also then going to use a privately available mock paper, which is one that's only available to schools. And that's the one that we will sit as an exam, as a practice in week 8 of this term. And from that, you'll receive written feedback from one of our teachers using the marking guide that's attached to the external exam, so that you actually are getting feedback about how ready you are to sit this exam and what strategies you can undertake to ensure that by October you have made up any deficits or that you've really capitalised on your strengths. And then when we come back in term 4, we'll unpack that feedback together. I'll speak to all the Year 12s collectively on the 19th of October, I believe. But that is your chance to really refine, to really tease out the little things that you can do better so that you feel confident going into your first external exam, which will be English. So I'll come out of that and you'll see that to support you working through the timeline, we've actually arranged the resources in the kind of most logical way for you to access them. So of course, the first thing we're going to need is our copy of the text. We have our study guide there. We have, you might see here, a guide to how to annotate a text. And I'm going to unpack that for you in more detail in another tutorial. We've got a definition of like how to write an essay. We've got a definition of what the aesthetic features and stylistic devices are. That comes straight from the syllabus. So that's what markers are going to be looking for you to be able to control when you write your essay, as well as some feedback. So there are actually just a mountain of resources that you can see there. And when we are aware that there's something particular that you need, we'll actually develop that to support you. Okay. So I've gone through the syllabus. I've highlighted where you can find information on your class page and your course page. I've flagged the Padlet for you, and in the email that I'm going to send you, I'm going to include the link with that Padlet. And the other exciting thing is that the access that you'll get to this very tutorial will be coming via a YouTube channel that I've designed or have developed specifically to share revision material on the external exam with Year 12 students. So you are welcome to revisit that as often as you like. You're welcome to share that with your friends. And my great hope is that eventually we will be able to share materials for all of your subjects on that YouTube page. Okay, so at this stage, get in, start reading the play, read your study guide, read the Wikipedia summary of what the play is about, watch one of the film adaptations, and enjoy the presentation of Shake and Stir's version of the Macbeths, which will pick up on some key details. And across the course of the term, take every step that you possibly can to build your confidence in discussing a play, specifically this play, and build your confidence in writing analytically so that you are able to demonstrate how meaning is made in Macbeth and what it is that you thought Shakespeare was trying to achieve. Okay, and so until next time, Year 12, that's it from me.